Breakups can be ugly, filled with shouting, emotions, and sometimes even salty messages. However, the breakup we're discussing today is of a completely different nature. It's not a tiff between lovers, but an escalating conflict between two entities whose relationship has been fraught with tension and mistrust over the years. Yes, we're delving into the ongoing clash between Pakistan and the Taliban, which has taken a serious turn with accusations of bombings and attacks. The Taliban points the finger at Pakistan, accusing them of launching airstrikes on two Afghan areas, Bal in the Paktika province and Seppa in Host. Both of these provinces share a border with Pakistan, making them particularly sensitive regions. According to the Taliban, Pakistani planes swooped in around 3 in the morning, local time, dropped bombs in these two locations, and promptly retreated. The fallout from these alleged bombings is grim. The Taliban reports casualties, with approximately 8 lives lost in the incident. They claim that the victims were not combatants but innocent civilians, specifically women and children who were caught in the crossfire. Meanwhile, Pakistan has responded to these allegations, admitting to carrying out airstrikes but not in Afghanistan. They assert that the operation took place within their own borders and that the targets were not innocent civilians, but 8 armed terrorists. The motive behind this operation is clear when we consider recent events. Over the weekend, Pakistan was rocked by a terror attack in Waziristan, which claimed the lives of 7 soldiers, including 2 officers. A newly formed terror group, Jaish Mohammed, based in Afghanistan, later claimed responsibility for the attack. It's an escalating situation, a growing conflict that's far from the typical breakup. It's a clash of ideologies, a fight for control, and a struggle that's costing innocent lives. As the world watches, we must remember the real cost of this conflict. Casualties are reported, with around 8 people killed. The Taliban claims they were women and children. But what is Pakistan saying? Pakistan has responded to the Taliban's accusations with a firm denial. Yes, they confirm there were airstrikes, but they insist these took place within their own borders. They've gone on record stating that the operation was conducted on their own soil, and the targets, not innocent civilians, but terrorists. As the world watches, Pakistan makes it clear that this was a counter-terrorism operation. The objective was clear: to neutralize a threat that had cost them dearly. Just days prior, they had suffered a brutal terror attack in Waziristan. The attack was ruthless, claiming the lives of 7 soldiers, 2 of whom were officers. According to Islamabad, there was no room for ambiguity or doubt about the perpetrators. The attack was claimed by a new terror group, known as Jaish Mohammed, which is believed to be based in Afghanistan. This group didn't just claim responsibility, they boasted about it, making their intentions clear. Overcome with grief and anger, Pakistan held a funeral for the slain soldiers. Among the attendees were President Asif Ali Zardari and Army Chief Qasim Munir. The somber occasion was marked with deep sorrow but also a palpable sense of resolve. The president's words echoed across the nation, hinting at a military response, and true to his words, within 24 hours, it came. Pakistan's response was swift and decisive. They launched an operation targeting the group they believed was responsible for the attack on their soldiers. Islamabad insists that the 8 casualties were not innocent civilians but terrorists. They claim this operation was not an act of aggression, but a necessary defense. But this action has not gone unnoticed. The Taliban, once allies of Pakistan, have reacted strongly. They've accused Pakistan of incompetence and launched a counter-offensive. Reports of a gunfight near the border are already emerging. As we delve deeper into this complex situation, it's clear that the roots of this conflict run deep. The ties between Pakistan and the Taliban have been strained for years, and this recent clash is just the latest chapter in a long and complicated history. This attack was later claimed by a new terror group, Jaish Mohammed, based in Afghanistan. As we move forward, the question remains: will this cycle of attack and retaliation continue, or can a peaceful resolution be found? A funeral for the slain Pakistani soldiers was held, with President Asif Ali Zardari and Army Chief Qasim Munir in attendance. The nation mourned the loss of its brave sons, their sacrifice a stark reminder of the continuing threat of terrorism. The somber ceremony was not just a final farewell to the fallen soldiers, but also a strong statement of Pakistan's resolve to fight back. In the wake of the funeral, Islamabad was a city on edge. The government was under pressure to respond, to show strength in the face of aggression. The task at hand was not easy, with the Taliban accusing Pakistan of violating their sovereignty and the international community watching closely, the path forward was fraught with challenges. In this tense atmosphere, President Zardari addressed the nation. His words were measured yet firm. He expressed condolences for the lives lost, praised the courage of the armed forces, and vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice. But his speech was not just about mourning and promises. It was a warning that Pakistan would not sit idly by, that it would retaliate. Army Chief Qasim Munir echoed the president's sentiments. He affirmed that the security of Pakistan was the Army's utmost priority and assured the public that necessary measures would be taken to protect it. He too hinted at a military response, further raising the stakes in this volatile situation. As the nation braced itself for what was to come, the government went into overdrive. Meetings were held, strategies were discussed, and plans were drawn up. The message was clear. Pakistan was ready to fight back. It was ready to defend its people, its territory, and its sovereignty. Yet, amidst all the preparations, there was an air of uncertainty. The question on everyone's mind was, what would this military response look like? Would it escalate the conflict or pave the way for a resolution? The answer, as it turned out, was not long in coming. 24 hours later, it came. But how is the Taliban reacting? Their response has been swift and, in their own words, resolute. In a statement released shortly after the alleged airstrikes, the Taliban didn't shy away from expressing their outrage and their determination to protect their territories. They accused Pakistan of a blatant violation of their sovereignty and warned of severe repercussions if such actions were repeated. The Taliban's tone and language are telling. They are not mincing words here. Their message is clear. They are not afraid, and they won't be pushed around. This is a group that has fought against superpowers and emerged victorious. The Taliban's battle-hardened resilience, garnered through decades of conflict, is evident in their statement. But their reaction is not limited to words. Reports are coming in of heightened tensions along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, with gunfights breaking out in several areas. The Taliban is hitting back militarily, showing they are ready to defend their territories and their people. In their statement, the Taliban also accused Pakistan of incompetence, stating, "They are unable to secure their own borders and are trying to shift the blame on us." This is a clear jab at Pakistan's recent struggles with internal security and their failure to contain the Taliban Pakistan, or TTP. The Taliban's words are not just an accusation, they are a challenge, a taunt. It's important to remember that the Taliban's reaction is not an isolated incident. It's part of a larger narrative of escalating tensions and deteriorating relations between the two sides. The blame game, the accusations, the threats, they all paint a picture of a relationship that has taken a severe beating. The Taliban accuses Pakistan of incompetence and hits back militarily, with reports of a gunfight near the border. This is not just a reaction, it's a statement of intent. The Taliban is making it clear. They won't be bullied, they won't be silenced, and they will fight back. The question now is, how will Pakistan respond? How did things descend to this level? Let's take a step back to the year 2021. Pakistan, in a move that has since proved to be a strategic miscalculation, supported the Taliban's conquest of Kabul. Their hope was that the Taliban would help keep the TTP or the Pakistani Taliban in check. However, the reality was drastically different. Instead of reining in the TTP, the Taliban began to arm and fund them, essentially turning them into a more formidable force. This led to an increase in terror attacks within Pakistan, particularly in its border provinces. In a grim turn of events, the very group Pakistan had hoped to control was now causing havoc within its borders. The Taliban's arming and funding of the TTP have led to devastating attacks in border provinces, marking a downward spiral in Pakistan's security situation. This is the grim reality of Pakistan's relationship with the Taliban. In the wake of terror attacks, Pakistan took drastic measures in 2022. Airstrikes were launched, resulting in the tragic loss of approximately 47 Afghans. Adding to the tension, Afghan refugees were deported en masse back to their conflict-ridden homeland. These actions were not taken lightly by the international community. Appeals and complaints were made to the United Nations, yet the global response was not as swift or as decisive as one might expect. The world's attention, it seems, had been diverted elsewhere. This is not to suggest that international concern for terrorism has waned. Rather, the world appears to be holding Pakistan accountable for its past actions. A nation that once played puppeteer to terrorist groups now finds itself isolated, bearing the heavy burden of its previous choices. As the dust settles on these recent events, Pakistan stands alone in this battle, confronting the repercussions of its history head-on. Pakistan's deep state-funded and armed terrorist groups, and now they're paying the price. This is a tale of a nation's past actions coming back to haunt it, a nation that once thought it could play both sides in a game of high-stakes geopolitical chess. Let's recap what we've covered. Pakistan, hoping to contain the Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, supported the Taliban's conquest of Kabul back in 2021. But this move backfired. Instead of containing the TTP, the Taliban began arming and funding them, leading to devastating attacks in border provinces. The situation escalated to a point where Pakistan had to launch airstrikes, leading to a conflict that has now claimed lives on both sides. Pakistan's response has been one of retaliation, launching airstrikes and asserting its right to defend its borders. But the Taliban has hit back, accusing Pakistan of incompetence and launching its own attacks. This conflict is not just about military might, it's a battle of narratives, with both sides trying to assert their version of events. The international community has moved on from the issue, leaving Pakistan alone in this struggle. The United Nations has been informed, but the world seems to have turned a blind eye to the plight of Pakistan. This isolation is not because the world doesn't care about terrorism. We do. It's because Pakistan's past actions have made it difficult to garner sympathy and support. It's a classic case of reaping what you sow. Pakistan's deep state thought it could control the narrative, thought it could manipulate the situation to its advantage. But the reality is, in a world where information is freely available and actions have consequences, such games can't be played without repercussions. And now, Pakistan finds itself in a precarious situation. It must fight a battle that it inadvertently helped create against an enemy it once supported. It's a sobering reminder of the perils of playing both sides and the consequences of funding and arming terrorist groups. But because Pakistan is responsible for this mess, it's a battle they must fight alone. It's a testament to the fact that in the end, our actions define us, and we must face the consequences of those actions, no matter how bitter they may be.